We are a few weeks into the college basketball season, and with multiple games already in the books, I wanted to start updating my weekly rankings. So here's my top 25 rankings after week 3 of the college basketball season. But before we get into the video, if you enjoy the content, please consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel. And now, let's jump into it. So I want to quickly mention some of the teams that I have my eye on but are just outside of my top 25 rankings and could be included here soon, and they are Kansas, Georgetown, Ohio State, Baylor, Iowa, St. Mary's, and Vanderbilt. But starting off my rankings and coming in at number 25 is Nebraska, who is actually riding the nation's longest win streak after their 86-85 thrilling win over Kansas State at the Hall of Fame Classic. The Cornhuskers are off to a 6-0 start with quality wins over Oklahoma and New Mexico as well, and Price Samford continues to shine, dropping 21 points against K-State and averaging 16.5 points on the year, while his teammate Rink Mass has also impressed, averaging 16 points and 6.5 boards. And the Cornhuskers will look to keep the momentum rolling Tuesday against Winthrop. Indiana jumps into the rankings at number 24 after a strong 5-0 start under new head coach Darian DeVries, and the Hoosiers have opened the season with impressive offensive firepower showcased, highlighted by their dominant 23-point win over Marquette. And while they weren't quite as sharp this week, they continued stacking wins as they beat Incarnate Word 69-61 and then followed it up with a 73-53 victory over Lindenwood as Tucker DeVries erupted for 25 points in that win. And I know the Hoosiers' schedule hasn't been elite early on, but the returns so far have been undeniably encouraging to me, and with Kansas State and Bethune-Cookman up next, a 7-0 start looks well within reach for the Hoosiers. Auburn lands at number 23 in my rankings as they have started 4-1 so far this season, with their lone loss coming by 1 point to the then number 1 ranked Houston Cougars. Keyshawn Hall has looked like a breakout transfer for Auburn, averaging 23 points and 11 rebounds per game before suffering an ankle sprain that seems like it will have him out for a little bit. But even with that, and to Hodge-Pedford struggling early and shooting under 30% from the field, the Tigers are still one of the top 25 teams in the country to me. But with their matchups against Oregon and Michigan looming at the Players Era Festival this week, Auburn will need some of their other pieces to step up in order to continue to compete. I have Texas Tech at number 22, even after suffering 2 tough losses recently to both Illinois and Purdue. The Red Raiders have one of the best players in the country in JT Toppin, and he and Christian Anderson have carried the scoring load so far, averaging a combined 40 points per game. The Red Raiders also recently had the return of elite rim protector Luke Bamboy, who should help boost their interior defense once he settles in. And the Red Raiders are currently at 3-2 on the season and should have some easier gains upcoming until they meet Arkansas in mid-December. Kentucky lands at number 21 after a disappointing start to the season, to say the least, and despite a strong exhibition showing versus Purdue, the Wildcats have struggled against other top teams, highlighted by their lopsided loss to Michigan State and a loss at Louisville. Jalan Lowe's injury hasn't helped at all, but defensive lapses and rebounding issues are my biggest concerns, but Kentucky did bounce back with a dominant 42-point win over Loyola, Maryland to get to 4-2 this year, but with North Carolina and Gonzaga ahead, Mark Pope must quickly turn this around. At number 20 is NC State, who is off to a quiet but impressive 4-0 start with wins over VCU and UAB. Darion Williams has been one of the nation's hottest players, totaling 60 points and 17 rebounds in his last 2 games, while shooting 21 for 34 from the field and 8 for 12 from deep. Paul McNeil Jr. has also been awesome for the Wolfpack and is emerging as a breakout sophomore and is averaging 15 points per game, and the supporting cast of Trey Holloman, Quadir Copeland, Vin Allen Lubin, and freshman Matt Abel has been strong as well, and now the Wolfpack head to Maui as one of the favorites to win the Maui Invitational. Arkansas slides in at my number 19 after a shaky but still a productive week. The Razorbacks narrowly escaped both Samford and Winthrop, winning both by a combined 5 points, but responded with a dominant 115-61 win over Jacksonville State to move to 5-1. Arkansas's defensive issues remain a concern for me after allowing 25 combined threes in those close wins, but still, the freshman backcourt of Darius Acuff Jr. and Malik Thomas continue to provide star-level upside, and with Duke and Louisville coming up, Arkansas's veteran role players must step up even more to help support their young guards if they want to win. At number 18 is UCLA, who sits at 5-1 with its only loss coming in a tight matchup against Arizona. The Bruins responded with back-to-back blowouts though, beating Sacramento State 79-48 behind Eric Daly Jr.'s 15 points and 10 rebounds, then cruising past Presbyterian with an 86-46 score with standout performances from Sky Clark and Donovan Dent. And with Dent back from injury and in the lineup, UCLA looks far more cohesive on both ends, showcasing improved shooting and defensive intensity, and they'll have even more chances to prove themselves, starting with a matchup against California next. St. John's comes in at number 17 after a steady 3-1 start and a dominant 97-49 win over Bucknell this week. Bryce Hopkins powered the offense with 20 points, while Dylan Mitchell added a double-double off the bench, showcasing Rick Pitino's revamped roster depth. And despite an earlier loss to Alabama, the Red Storms still look every bit like a Big East contender to me. With defensive energy and versatile scoring options, they just need to figure out what their lineup is going to look like going forward. And with Iowa State and Baylor ahead at the Players Era Festival, St. John's will have a chance to solidify itself as a top-tier team. Tennessee stays perfect at 5-0 and checks in at my number 16 team, and despite not facing a major test yet, the Volunteers have handled business so far, beating Rice 91-66 this past week behind Felix Akpara's 20 points and 8 rebounds and Nate Ament's double-double. They also followed that with an 89-60 win over Tennessee State and were led by Jacoby Gillespie this time, who had 17 points and 5 assists, and the Vols look balanced and disciplined, but all 5 games have come at home against mid-majors, and a major step up awaits at the Players Era Festival this week, including a marquee matchup with the Houston Cougars. Michigan sits at number 15 in my rankings after a comfortable 86-61 win over Middle Tennessee, which has been their strongest defensive showing so far. Yaxel Lindenborg finally dominated and finished with 25 points and 12 rebounds in the game, while Ade Mara added in a double-double. And although being undefeated and 4-0 means there should be a lot to like, the close calls against TCU and Wake Forest and the Wolverines' inconsistent three-point shooting remain a major concern and red flag for me, and Dusty May and the Michigan Wolverines will be tested this week with matchups against both Auburn and San Diego State. Iowa State holds the number 14 spot after another dominant week, and the Cyclones beat Mississippi State by 16 points and then took care of Stonehill, winning 96-57 behind 23 points each from Joshua Jefferson and Taman Lipsey. Their elite interior offense and 59% shooting night highlight one of the nation's most efficient units inside the arc, and the Cyclones are now 4-0 on the season, and their starting 5 has looked great so far, but tougher tests are finally here as Iowa State is also heading to the Players Era Festival with a marquee opener against St. John's and another one against Creighton. I have BYU at number 13 after bouncing back from a sluggish outing versus Delaware and made a statement in Salt Lake City, dismantling a ranked Wisconsin team 98-70. Richie Saunders was amazing in that game and erupted for 26 points. AJ DeBanso was solid and added in 18, and Robert Wright III posted a 10-point, 11-assist double-double as the Cougars' offense looked unstoppable against the Badgers. And now at 4-1, BYU's ceiling is as high as any team's, especially when its Big Three is rolling, although their scoring depth to me remains a question when they're not. But the Cougars now head to Florida for the ESPN Events Invitational with key games against both Miami and Dayton. Florida is sitting at number 12 after 2 strong wins, starting with an 82-68 victory over Miami behind Alex Condon's 19 points and 10 rebounds and Thomas Houck's 17-point effort, and they followed that up with an 80-45 rout of Merrimack, highlighted by another great game by Alex Condon, who finished with 20 points and 11 boards, and a massive 14-point and 21 rebound night from Ruben Chinyelu. And despite cold shooting stretches and slower than expected starts from Boogie Flan and Xavier Lee, the Gators front court finally looks like a dominant force and like how I thought they would be, but for them to get back into the national title conversation, the guard play has got to be better. Illinois lands at number 11 after a mixed but encouraging week. The Illini fell 90-86 to Alabama in Chicago, despite 26 points from Andreas Stojakovic and 22 from Kylan Boswell, but then they bounced back with a 98-58 demolition of Long Island behind another 20-point game from Stojakovic, who has been playing at an extremely high level as of late. The Illini are now 5-1 and are finally getting healthy, and we are beginning to see the potential of this roster, and I think Illinois could have one of the highest ceilings out of any team in the country, especially on the offensive end, and their upcoming matchup with UConn could show it. I have North Carolina jumping into the top 10 at number 10 after moving to 5-0 with a 73-61 win over Navy. And while the Tar Heels haven't left Chapel Hill yet, they continue taking care of business behind standout performances from Caleb Wilson, who posted 23 points and 12 rebounds, and Luka Bokovac, who added 16 and 6. And new facers like Henry Vasar and Wilson have flashed major upside for this team, but UNC's ceiling remains a work in progress until they face tougher competition and Seth Trimble is able to return from injury. But the chance for better matchups comes soon, where the Tar Heels will take on Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans in the upcoming week. UConn sits at number 9 after a narrow 71-67 loss to Arizona in a top 5 showdown where the Huskies played without their star big man Taurus Reed and 5-star freshman Braylon Mullins, but another freshman in Eric Ryby had a standout performance and scored 15 points while Solo Ball added in 14, but the Huskies were out-rebounded and struggled to score late in that game. But still, to me, UConn's early season resume includes a strong win over BYU and a 5-1 start to the season, and this group remains on track to be a national contender as the pieces continue to mesh and get healthy, and this week brings another heavyweight matchup at Madison Square Garden against Illinois. Alabama lands at number 8 after securing one of the week's biggest wins, which was a 90-86 victory over Illinois and basically an away game in Chicago. LeBaron Philon led the way with 24 points and 5 assists, and has looked like an All-American so far this season to me, and now the Crimson Tide is 3-1 with marquee wins over 2 top 10 teams, including a win at St. John's as well, and Alabama continues proving they'll play and beat just about anyone, with their only loss coming to the number 1 ranked Purdue Boilermakers. And yet another massive test awaits at the Players Era Festival for the Crimson Tide, where Gonzaga becomes Alabama's 4th straight ranked opponent. Tom Izzo and Michigan State comes in at number 7 for me after a massive week punctuated by an 83-66 beatdown win over Kentucky at the Champions Classic. Jackson Kohler delivered 20 points while Jeremy Fears Jr. orchestrated the offense with 13 assists, and the Spartans followed that performance with an 84-56 win over Detroit. And now Michigan State is 5-0, and their improved perimeter shooting as of late has quieted some of my early concerns and has elevated their Big Ten title hopes. And up next is the Fort Myers tip-off, where a marquee showdown with North Carolina awaits. Gonzaga comes in and is ranked as number 6 and stays unbeaten at 5-0 after demolishing Southern Utah 122-50 in one of the most dominant performances we have seen all season so far. Braden Huff led the Zags with 22 points and 6 rebounds in the game, while freshman Davis Vogel added 19 off the bench as the Bulldogs shot an incredible 68% from the field, and they are one of the deepest teams in the entire country with multiple weapons on all places on the floor, and their earlier wins of Creighton, Oklahoma, and Arizona State showed this team's ceiling to me, but the real tests start now as the Zags will go up against Alabama later this week. Louisville continues to rise and is at number 5 in my rankings after a statement road win at Cincinnati, taking down the Bearcats 74-64 to move to 5-0. The Cardinals showed they can win even when their high-powered offense isn't clicking, and leaned on strong defense and big performances from Ryan Conwell, who scored 25 points in the game, and freshman Mikael Brown Jr., who added in 22 points and 6 assists. And I think I'm finally ready to say that this is the absolute best backcourt in the country, and they have been amazing to start the year. And with the Cardinals' explosive start and last week's win over Kentucky, Louisville looks like a legitimate national title contender if this momentum continues. The Duke Blue Devils check in at my number 4 after another dominant week and a 6-0 start, and they earned their biggest win yet by defeating Kansas 78-66 at the Champions Classic behind Cameron Boozer's 18 points and 11 rebounds performance. And they followed that up with a 100-42 win over Niagara, and then a 93-56 victory over Howard, and with 6 straight double-digit wins, including victories over Kansas, like I mentioned, and Texas, Duke's young talent is thriving in the early parts of this season, and a Thanksgiving matchup against Arkansas offers another chance to cement their elite status. I have Houston as my number 3 team after earning a gutsy 73-72 road win over Auburn, thanks to the freshman duo of Kingston Flemings, who had 22 points and 7 assists in the game, and Chris Sinak Jr., who finished with 18 points and 9 rebounds. And the Cougars followed that win with a 91-45 demolition of Ryder, led again by Flemings and defensive standout Joseph Tugler, who posted 12 points, 9 assists, and 4 blocks in that performance. And now the Cougars are 5-0 on the season, and Houston Houston's freshman core has been electric so far, helping offset some surprisingly slow starts from their returning veterans, but Houston is set to face their toughest test yet in their matchup with Tennessee at the Players Era Festival this week. Arizona comes in at number 2 after another signature win this week, this time going into Stores and knocking off UConn 71-67. And although Koa Pete continued his incredible start to the season with 16 points and 12 rebounds in the game, it was once again Jaden Bradley who delivered in the clutch and finished with a team-high 21 points, and Bradley has shown that he's one of the best guards in the entire country with the way he has played to start this season, and the Wildcats have now secured their third elite victory after previous wins over Florida and UCLA, and now at 5-0 on the season, and Arizona has definitely built the nation's best resume to date. But for me, the Purdue Boilermakers are still the number 1 team in the nation, and they just had another dominant week that showcased how complete of a team that they are. The Boilermakers beat Akron 97-79 behind Trey Kaufman-Rinn's 17-point, 15-rebound double-double, and then stormed through the Baja Mar Championship. First came an 80-71 win over Memphis, highlighted by Fletcher Lore's big second half and 20-point performance, and then Purdue delivered one of the most surprising and dominant performances yet, crushing the Texas Tech Red Raiders 86-56 and had 7 players that scored in double figures in the game. And now the Boilermakers are 6-0 on the season and have an elite balance across the entire lineup, and Purdue looks every bit like the national title favorite to me. But that wraps it up for today's video. Let me know your thoughts on my top 25 rankings in the comments down below. Was there a team that was way too high or way too low to you, or not even included in the video? Also, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.